Welcome. My name is Ryan. I work in the admissions office, and I'm joined here today by our professor, Beth Crockford, who teaches in our business administration program. Beth, do you have anything that you'd like to kind of say as your formal introduction for today?
Hi. Well, I've worked at Colby-Sawyer now for, I think this is my 24th year. I've been in the business department, but I've also been the academic dean, and right now I'm doing project management work. So I have broader rather than just narrow experience at the college. So I think that I'm probably a pretty good resource for prospective students. So feel free to lob any questions my way, and I will try to do my best to explain how we do things at Colby-Sawyer in the business department.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So I think we'll jump right into it, which the first question that I have here is, what would a typical day in the life of one of our first year business administration students, or anyone that maybe you would come into contact with or teach, what does that like typical first day or day in the life of look like?
Well, hopefully going to class. The first year students who know right away that they want to be business majors will be taking a writing class. They'll be taking their first year experience, but they'll also be in a 2-credit seminar that is a business seminar. And what we discovered several years ago was that because of the liberal education courses, that sometimes the business students don't meet each other early on. And it's not until sophomore year that they're regularly taking enough business courses that they get to meet one another. So we thought that building a cohort was really important. And so one of the things that will happen in that first semester is a seminar with all of the other first year business majors. And it's a big help in terms of just getting to know one another, but also learning what the expectations are in the business department. So that's just one day a week. Normally, our first semester students are often surprised by how much free time they have, which is great. It's not quite like high school where there's this lockstep class to class to class. But working with your academic advisors also a good idea, because it's very easy to not utilize that time really, really well. So there is more free time. Classes vary. It may be that you're in a class for just 50 minutes or so, 3 days a week, or you may be in longer classes 2 days a week, or even some classes, and usually not in your first year, but after a while, you could even be in a class that meets just 1 day a week and goes for, 2.5 or 3 hours. So the standard probably be in class 4 days a week.
Excellent. Thank you. So the next question I have that I think is oftentimes definitely one that people are kind of weighing in their mind and thinking about at this point of the year is, what does that average kind of class size or student to faculty to ratio look like? And why do you think that would be important for them to consider?
Well, I always say to my students that I don't think people learn well when they just listen to other people prattle on. I think we learn far better when we are engaged and when we're part of the process of examining things. As such, we in the business department, we do lots of presentations. We have discussions. We don't have lectures so much. I just don't think our brains are hardwired to absorb much when people are talking at us. So the smaller class size, I think, is really critical for better learning, for more interesting learning. It's really easy to take a nap when somebody's just yammering at you. So I think that being involved in the course, being part of small breakout groups that we do in the class to talk about things, particularly helps our first year students, because it's hard. You don't know people. And some of our students are shy. I would say that a lot of business administration majors aren't as shy as maybe some others, because they know they're headed into business and they know what that entails. But but people don't want to say something that someone else disagrees with, or, not understand something and admit that in front of other people. So we really work hard at making sure that everybody feels comfortable in the classroom, and having that smaller size really matters. So right now, I have a pretty big class of 33 students in my capstone class. A more normal size in my my MBA class, my graduate class, is 16. And that's a great size. It's enough so that you have different opinions, that people see different things in the reading, but that it's not so huge that people don't get a chance to speak, or, to ask questions and that sort of thing.
Awesome.
I think it makes all the difference in the world to have smaller classes.
I totally agree. I mean, I'm totally biased, but I definitely agree with that. So kind of dovetailing into that, you mentioned how all that kind of comes together for a really positive environment inside the class. What type of experiences you touched on, whether it's discussion-based projects that are going on, but whether it's in the classroom, outside the classroom, can you kind of help paint a picture of what a student experience might look like for someone within the business administration program?
Sure. It's, well, first of all, we don't have TAs teaching in our classes, not professional TAs. Our doors are open. Students walk in my office pretty much whenever they feel like it. And we're close enough so that I can tell them if I'm on the phone that they have to wait in the hall, and I'll get to them in a few minutes. But we are there. It's not like a big school where you walk in and the professor's door is closed. My students call me Beth. That's my preference. I have a few who don't like that, and they call me Professor Crockford, but most call me Beth. In our classes, we make every effort to provide additional opportunity. We want students to figure out how they want to lead, how they want to make a difference and make an impact. So we have all kinds of opportunities. We bring speakers in, we use simulations in classes. And so right now in our capstone, for instance, our students are running an airline. And so it's a computerized simulation, and the students are, they're all seniors, and so they've been together for 3.5 years now. And what they do is they actually have a CEO and a VP of HR and a CFO, and they run an airline. They have to do all of the budgeting. They make all the decisions for where they're going to fly and what kind of planes they'll fly and how much money they'll spend on their marketing. And they compete against one another in an industry. It's getting pretty competitive right now. Some of them have been losing money for the first year, and they've all finally started turning a profit now. So it's very hands-on. It's fun. It's interesting. It's great learning experience. We also, sometimes people say, oh, New London's small, but we have such great alliances with our local community that we bring in speakers all the time. We have students who are in our investment management. If you're into the stock market or financial analysis at all, we have an investment class that manages our student investment management fund, which is, I think the last time I knew, almost $500,000. It's real money that our students actually manage, and the students truly manage it. They make decisions about what they're going to buy, what they're going to sell, and they use the class in order to make those decisions by doing analysis. So it's a truly hands-on opportunity. I usually have a TA, a student TA in my classes, who will help do study sessions with students. So it's an opportunity for students who do really well in a particular area, like marketing or management or accounting, and they want to, by the time they're juniors or seniors, they wanted to do a teaching assistant. We also do research assistants. So we currently have a student right now who's I think he's a sophomore, who's going to graduate in 3 years. He's working to graduate in 3 years. And he's doing a whole bunch of projects for us in the department since we just started our 5th year MBA program. He's doing a whole bunch of legwork for us because one of the hallmarks of our program is that we're going to have a field study experience where small groups of students in the spring of their MBA will actually go out and work for regional companies and do project management for them. And so he's working on finding some of those sites by looking at the internships that our students have held locally and regionally, and see who would be interested, which places our students really got the most out of, and that sort of thing. So he's doing that, working with a faculty member one-on-one to do that. We also will do independent studies with students if there's a class that they want to take for a potential career path and we don't offer it. We will do independent studies where you can work again one-on-one with a faculty member. We do require an internship, not until you're a junior, but we also have some classes where we prep students for that. They work on their resumes, they work on interviewing skills. How do you find an internship? We have great success with our internships. We get really high marks from the supervisors in the locations. And we also have, it's about 60%. It's not always every year, but about 60% of our interns are offered a full-time job from their internship site. And the standard on that is usually about 24 or 25% in most colleges. And we often hit 60% where students, and they don't always take it, but it's nice to have that job offer before you ever graduate. So we do a good job, I think, in those areas of career preparation, of teaching our students presentation skills, public speaking, those kinds of things, because students are actually doing it all the time in their classes.
That's incredible. How hands-on that is, I think, is really, really, especially from the parents' perspective, that's reassuring to hear early on that when you go through the internship experience, you've got a better than 50-50 shot of having an offer in hand long before you even graduate. That's really great to see. So I think we've covered a lot of ground so far. I want to pause real quick and just see if we have any questions at all from Anna, either about anything that we've discussed so far or potentially maybe something we haven't discussed.
How long are like the internships for the students?
Well, Anna, the requirement, and it is a requirement in the business major, is for 200 hours, and that's a 5 credit. Most of our students do it over the summer of in between their junior and senior year, but you don't have to. I also have students who will do a local internship. I have one student who wants to be an accountant, and she actually did her internship over the course of a semester with a local law firm, and she has been hired by them and is their accountant. So she put her hours in over the span of an entire semester. And you can do that as long as your academic advisor will be really critical for you. And anything that you think you might want to do, if you might want to study abroad, if you might want to go to the Washington Institute for a semester in Washington, D.C., any of the things that are possibilities for you, I will ask my advisee and I will say, if you think you're going to want to do your internship around here and not at home, then let's talk about it, because if you don't want to do it during the summer, we want to make sure that your schedule works out right. So it's a partnership that you have with your academic advisor that will walk you through those things. But it's not long. If you work full time, it's about 6 weeks or so in the summer. What most of our students do is, it's very rare that in business you don't get a paid internship. Sometimes we'll have a student who wants to work in a nonprofit and they don't always get paid, but most of our students get paid. I had a student who was getting $16 an hour at their internship once. So you normally will get paid, and what happens is there's an academic component that goes along with the internship. So you're actually enrolled in an online class at the time you're in doing the work. And what happens is that piece of it will end after you meet the 200 hours, but most of our students will continue working for that site for the remainder of the summer.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
One of the things that you touched on, Beth, that I think I'd like to dig a little bit deeper into is that role that a faculty member plays as being an advisor. And so I'm curious, what does that look like for students in this program? What should they expect, and how does that kind of all come together?
Well, right from the start of, and I think it's before you ever step foot on campus in late August, you will have the name of your academic advisor. And if you've had any contact with people, it's often that, if you've had an email exchange with someone, or maybe even something like today, if Anna comes, she might be assigned to me. but you can always change your advisor. Normally what we do is, for instance, if somebody was going to be an accounting minor and they know they want to go into accounting, we would set that person up with our accounting faculty and make sure that we make those connections early. Sometimes we miss the boat on that, but students can change their advisor anytime they want and they don't have to ask permission or anything else. And we don't take it personally, we get it. So you meet that person during orientation, and you actually will have a meeting with them in order to talk about what it is you want to do, to look at your first semester schedule and make sure things are correct, to look at the curriculum going forward, to talk about any of those special things that I just talked about that, you know, you might want to study abroad, and we take notes so that we can make sure that we're advising you properly. We meet, I don't know, my advisees differ. Some of them only come see me when it's time to register, or if they want something from me, you know, they want me to look at their resume and tell them it looks okay, or, you know, maybe they need a resource because things aren't going well with their roommate or something of that nature. Others come in and talk to me all the time, and they use me as a resource really however they wish. And that should be the point, that you're comfortable with that person, that you feel like you can ask them pretty much anything. But again, we leave it to the student. That doesn't mean I don't chase my advisees down sometimes if I think they've been avoiding me. And it's a small place, and sometimes that is maybe one of the downsides, but we don't like to lose our students. We want to make sure that we, you know, if I don't hear from someone, I have an advisee right now who's what I call kind of gone AWOL, and I'm trying to track him down. So I've been in touch with his coach, and he'll come around, he'll come back to see me again. But it's a nice relationship to have with students. And I think students generally feel the same way, particularly if they get an advisor that they are comfortable with and can feel comfortable going to talk to.
That's really great. So one of the things that kind of comes to mind, I think there's, in my mind at least, two most oftenly seen kind of common experiences that every student goes through, which is everyone always has an academic advisor, and the other is every student always goes to, or always, but every student goes to class. There's classes for every student. So with that kind of in mind, could you talk a little bit about like what has been your favorite teaching moment here at Colby-Sawyer?
I think, well, I've had lots of them. I've been here for a long time. Sometimes it's got nothing to do with teaching. Sometimes it has to do with seeing my student out on the quad when he was supposed to be in my class and whipping the window open and hollering that he needed to get inside. That's one that went down in the history books. I love watching my students develop, which is what is really nice about being in a department to teach, is that I teach first year students and I teach them in their senior capstone. And I usually catch them somewhere in between as well. And watching the changes in them is, I mean, what makes what I do worthwhile. You know, they're different people. And I've often taught our senior seminar, which is a 1 credit class that they take in their senior year after the student has done their internship. And they come back and they're unrecognizable people. They have changed so much and that's one of my favorite times is fall of the senior year. Is I'm just like, wow, look at what you've done, you know, and that is a great moment. And I think the other thing is when my alums get in touch with me, and it tends to happen around May, close to commencement, but they email me and they tell me all the time, you were right, capstone was horrible and so hard, but you're right, it was worth every minute of it, and I use it all the time in my work. So hearing from students, I just got an email from a student who's in California. He just opened his own bar. He worked for State Street Bank. That's where he did his internship for us. And he just emailed me. I'm not sure if you remember me. And I said, how could I forget? You were late for class all the time. And I locked him out of the classroom once because he had a paper due and he was 15, 20 minutes late for class. And he kept sliding the paper under the door so I would accept it. And I kept sliding it back out again, So he said, he goes, I didn't even remember that. How do you remember? I said, oh, because I thought it was so funny. But, it's wow, look what you've done. So it's really fun to catch up with students after they're out too.
I can imagine seeing all that come full circle. That's really, really great. I think one of the things that I'd also really kind of like to take a look at would be, you mentioned earlier that I think we're in a unique space where we offer a 5th-year MBA. What type of opportunity does that really kind of become for our either to keep in mind for the incoming students, or as they're going through their 4 years here, to kind of always keep that in the back of their mind, like there is that opportunity and what that could mean for them?
It's a really nice way to get it done. We actually have a big cohort for our first year. I have in my very first graduate course that we're teaching, I'm teaching to our seniors, and I have 16 of them, and most of them are planning on continuing on to the 5th-year MBA. So what happens when it allows a little bit of a cheaper experience, for one thing, because what you do is you take 8 credits worth of courses in the senior year of your undergraduate. Now, I actually have one person who's graduating in 3 years and will do the MBA as a 4th year and then have a graduate degree by the time they're out of here in the standard 4 years. But in that, whatever the senior year is, you take 8 credits worth of classes, 4 in the fall and 4 in the spring, counts as elective credit, but it also fits in under your undergraduate tuition. So you can use whatever grants and funding you have, whatever scholarships you have, and it counts as free elective credit for you, which everybody has room in the program for free elective credits. So the sooner we know somebody's interested and we can advise them appropriately, the better. But I got seniors into it this year, so it's not impossible even a little bit later in the game. And then what happens is you take an online course over the summer and go off and do work or whatever it is that you would normally do in the summer. And then you come back to campus. It is actually residential, and you take 12 credits in the fall, 12 credits in the spring. Some students that I have are looking at the graduate housing opportunity that we're opening up, while other students are looking for apartments to rent together. And they'll do in the spring, they will do 6 credits worth of a field experience in their small teams of 2, 3, or 4 students that will go off, not every day of the week, but several days of the week to work in an actual community organization of some kind that fits what they want to do.
That's incredible.
So it's nice. I mean, it's so 1 extra year. The cost is about $15,000 total, which is far less than a lot of places. Not everywhere. There's a few places that are higher. But as someone who got my MBA 10 years after graduating, paid for it myself at that time, took out loans and that sort of thing. While working full time, it is really nice to be a student for an extra year. The other issue is that a lot of our athletes can do a 5th year of athletic eligibility. And so it's nice to do that. Parents are really gung-ho on it. So far, at least.
Yes, I can definitely attest to that.
And it will be something that, we will lay out as academic advisors often, if you're interested, think about it. And our students who are business minors are prepared to take it as well. They're in pretty good shape to be able to take 1 or 2 extra courses and be able to do the MBA as well.
Excellent.
So right now I have a graphic design major, I have a communications major, and I have a self-design and an ES major, who are all business minors who are going to do the MBA in the fall.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's really
it's a nice program.
Definitely. So Anna, I'm going to turn it back over to you and see, do you have any questions right now that you'd like to kind of go over? Have we sparked anything in kind of going through your mind?
I don't really know if you know the answer to the question, but my dad's a professor at St. A's, and so I have the benefit of the like the school pays for tuition. Would that follow over the 5th year if I did the MBA or no?
I don't know for sure, Anna, but we can get either your dad can find out what the arrangement is, or we can get our financial aid person to look into it and get back to you and let you know.
Thank you. Okay.
You're welcome. Anna, what is it that you're interested in? What kind of business are you interested in?
I'm going to major in business administration and then minor in marketing. That's my plan.
Marketing. Okay. So what part of marketing is it that you enjoy? I mean, do you think advertising, or are you like
probably advertising, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
I think
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. And so what we do is, what business is broad. And so one of the things your academic advisor and your professors will do is try to help you figure out really what it is that it means to you to be in marketing, because it means something different to everybody. For some people, it's sales, and I like marketing, but I'm not a salesperson. For other people, my brother's in public relations in Boston, and it's, for still other people, I have a communications double major, business admin communications major. And for her, it's all about video and social media and those kinds of things. And so she's been able to do internships in those areas. And you can do more than one internship. So you can get credit for other internships as well. And she's worked with our communications department as an intern and as a paid part-time worker. So finding out really what it is and marketing is one of those big ones. It's like there's so many different areas of marketing, and we use this one term to describe it, and it just means something different to everybody. So we do spend a lot of time trying to help you figure out really what it is that it means to you and where you want to go with it.
Excellent. Thank you, Anna. And then Beth, before we kind of wrap up, I'm curious, are there any kind of final parting thoughts or words of wisdom that you'd like to share for prospective students or anybody that might end up watching this, or just like, is there anything maybe that we didn't cover or didn't ask that we really should be asking?
I'm just trying to think.
Not to put you on the spot, but I'm putting you on the spot.
No, it's okay. I think sometimes our internships are very important to our program, and they're high quality. And I think sometimes people think that, we're a small college, and what do we know about, how do we compete with schools who can get internships in Boston, this kind of thing. But we've had students in internships all over the place, in Fidelity. We've had them at State Street Bank. We've had them at Dartmouth Hitchcock. They have worked at some of the Big 10 accounting firms and then gotten jobs there. I think that's something that we need to sell better and make sure that our prospective students know. We will work with you to find internships all over the place, and some of our students do their internships abroad even, and many will go to California, or they'll go home and they'll stay at home, and if that's Boston or New York or Florida. And then some of them, you can stay in the dormitory. We have scholarships for internship support, and they may stay and they may work locally. So there's all kinds of options. And I just want to make sure people, prospective students and parents understand that we've had some exceptional internship opportunities. And once our students get there, I had a supervisor, I had a student who wanted to be a lawyer, and he went to a law firm in Boston, and many of the other interns there went to Harvard, and he felt a little, like maybe he wasn't measuring up. And one day his supervisor came over to him and he said, Dan, can you do some of these things for me? And those other two guys were sitting there, and interns, and they said, well, what about us? And he goes, you guys can't manage an Excel spreadsheet to save your souls, and turned and he handed it to Dan and said, but he can, he knows what he's doing. So I think that is probably something that I think is really important for people to know, that not only do we prepare students well for their internships, but they get some really excellent placements.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Beth. And thank you, Anna. I
You're
think
welcome. And if you have more questions, Anna, you can find me on the website easily. If you just go to the business site, my name and my email's there. So if you have questions, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm happy to help.